There's something oddly humbling about studying how soldiers a century ago managed to live, march and survive for months in the field with nothing but what they could carry on their backs. Long before the age of ultralight tents, titanium cookware or fancy insulation, World War I soldiers were already refining what we'd now call the minimalist survival system. And what's fascinating is that their so-called camp kit, a compact, brutally efficient setup designed for endurance, solved problems that even modern backpackers still struggle with today. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't comfortable, but it worked, and it kept men alive under conditions far harsher than most of us will ever face. So today, we're taking a look back at the forgotten World War I camp kit, what it included, why it worked so well, and how its principles can be applied right now by anyone serious about preparedness, outdoor living, or fieldcraft. Soldiers in the trenches weren't campers, they were forced survivalists. When war broke out in 1914, most armies expected a short campaign. Instead, it turned into a grinding, years-long ordeal, fought in mud, snow, and endless rain. Supply lines were unreliable, and soldiers often went days with only what they carried. That's when necessity forced innovation. Soldiers began stripping their loads down to what truly mattered: shelter, warmth, water, food, and tools that could do more than one job. Unlike modern hikers who plan trips with weather forecasts and designated campsites, these men face chaos. Yet their ingenuity created a field-tested survival system so effective that it quietly influenced generations of explorers and outdoorsmen who came after. The lessons they learned about layering, compact gear, and practical improvisation became the foundation of modern bushcraft. You know, the average World War I soldier carried about 30 to 40 pounds of gear, which is actually far less than what a modern camper might haul along once you add up a tent, stove, sleeping bag, and all those extra accessories. Every single ounce had to earn its place, no question about it. Their so-called camp kit wasn't just one piece of equipment, but instead it was a modular system, carefully thought out for maximum efficiency. It all came together, combining a ground sheet, a blanket roll, a mess, tin, a trench knife, and a canteen. Each bit was packed in a way to maximize mobility and resilience. Nothing was wasted, and every item served a real purpose. The ground sheet, well, it was quite clever, actually. It doubled as a rain poncho, a tarp, or even a shelter wall. Soldiers would fold it into a half tent, using their rifle and bayonet as the central pole. Just like that, they'd create an instant lean-to block the wind and rain. Ingenious, really. When paired with another soldier's poncho, it formed a full tent, a design modern backpackers might recognize in the minimalist tarp shelters that have made a comeback among serious ultralight hikers. The principle was simple. One piece of gear, multiple uses. This same approach works perfectly today. Instead of overpacking, try building your kit around dual-purpose items. A waxed canvas tarp can serve as ground cover, poncho and windbreak. A metal canteen can boil water as well as carry it. The First World War soldiers' camp kit wasn't about convenience, it was about survival through simplicity. One of the forgotten secrets of the First World War camp kit was, well, its reliance on wool. Soldiers slept in wool blankets instead of sleeping bags and wore layered wool uniforms designed to insulate even when damp. Wool retains warmth through air pockets trapped in its fibres, and unlike cotton, it doesn't lose its insulating power when wet. This mattered enormously in the trenches, where constant moisture and freezing conditions made dry clothing, honestly, a bit of a luxury. Soldiers learned to sleep wrapped tightly in their wool blanket with their greatcoat layered over top, creating a cocoon that trapped body heat. Modern survivalists often overlook wool in favour of synthetics, but for field use without access to dryers or clean water, wool remains unmatched. A single wool blanket, properly maintained, can serve as bedding, a cloak, or even a makeshift poncho. If you spend time outdoors in cold or wet conditions, investing in a dense military-style wool blanket might be one of the smartest decisions you can make. The standard British or American mess tin was a small miracle of field engineering. It served as a pot, a frying pan, a plate and a cup, all in one nesting system really. Soldiers cooked over small Tommy cookers, which used solid fuel tablets made from hexamine or gelled alcohol. Meals were simple: tinned meat, hard biscuits, or porridge made from ration flour. While the menu wasn't exactly glamorous, the method was pure efficiency, you know. Everything could be prepared, eaten and cleaned with the same container, and the cookers produced minimal smoke, which really reduced the risk of being spotted by the enemy. For modern fieldcraft, this lesson is honestly timeless. Fancy stoves might be convenient, but, well, simplicity wins in harsh environments. A small metal cup and a folding stove can do everything you need: boil, fry, heat, and even sterilize water. Soldiers would even use their helmets to heat snow or sterilize water when fuel ran out. That adaptability, turning any object into a survival tool, is what truly set them apart. Sleep in the trenches wasn't restful, but it was strategic. Soldiers couldn't count on long nights of rest, so they learned to nap in short bursts, using every trick available to conserve warmth and energy. They dug shallow depressions in the ground to block wind-laid branches or straw beneath them to reduce contact with cold earth, and used their packs as makeshift pillows to stay off the mud. The idea was simple: minimize exposure and rest efficiently. Even in extreme cold, soldiers learned that sleeping too close to the fire could cause condensation to freeze in their blankets once the flames died down. Instead, they relied on body heat wool and the protection of low shelters. Backpackers and outdoor enthusiasts can apply this lesson directly. In cold or wet conditions, insulation from below matters more than a thick sleeping bag. Use natural materials, leaves, pine needles or dry grass, to create a barrier. Right, so keep shelters low and tight. Comfort, well, that's secondary to preservation, really. The entrenching tool, that small folding shovel, might just be the most iconic piece of the First World War camp kit. Soldiers used it for digging foxholes, building drainage trenches, and, believe it or not, even as a weapon. Its practicality made it absolutely indispensable. These days, a modern folding shovel serves much the same purpose: shelter building, fire pit construction, and, of course, soil insulation. The same principle applied to their knives and bayonets, multi-purpose tools for cutting, prying, or, well, even food prep. Soldiers weren't hoarders of gear. They were masters of using one tool for a dozen tasks. That mindset, adaptability over accumulation, is something every serious outdoorsman should reclaim. The WWI camp kit may seem primitive compared to today's high-tech gear, but in truth it represents a kind of wisdom that modern outdoor culture has, largely forgotten. It wasn't about having more, it was about understanding enough. Being able to turn a poncho into a tent, a blanket into a coat, or a mess tin into a stove, well, it made soldiers self-sufficient in a way that, honestly, very few people are today. If you take these lessons to heart, you can, build your own version of the World War I camp kit. Compact, efficient, and dependable. Test it on your next camping trip, or, well, even a backyard survival challenge. Strip away the extras and honestly rediscover the fundamentals. For more deep dives into forgotten fieldcraft, timeless survival techniques, and the lessons our ancestors left behind, make sure you subscribe to Backyard Wisdom, share this video, and help keep history's hard-earned knowledge alive.